This is Melissa Myers, transpersonal psychotherapist, mindfulness specialist, trauma-informed life coach, and author of Lessons from the Storm, 7 Steps to Turn Breakdowns into Breakthroughs. Step 5, Mind over Matter. A quote from Buddha: "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." We may not be able to choose what happens to us in life, but we can choose how we respond to it. This takes a great amount of practice and deconditioning, as so much of the time we are unconsciously reacting to the circumstances of our lives. We have the power to choose our attitude, and we must learn to do so if we want to harness the lessons from the storms. Part of our ability to survive in this world comes from our reptilian brain and limbic system, which are wired to continually be on the lookout for what's wrong or what could go wrong and try to protect us. Beyond mere survival, we have the capacity to thrive, to grow, to create, to rise and shine. Neuroscientifically speaking, we would say that this comes from the prefrontal cortex, the newer, more evolved part of our brain where compassion lives. We can learn to use our mind effectively. Instead of allowing our survival instinct's fight or flight mechanism to become a trap that chains us in stress, anxiety, and conflict, we can consciously activate the more evolved parts of the brain and move into new territory, beyond survival, into thriving. We have awareness and therefore the ability to rewire, recalibrate, and choose how we view ourselves, each other, our circumstances, God, and the world. Our minds are powerful, and it's up to us to train them accordingly, to question our thoughts and beliefs, and to choose our worldview and attitude carefully. We are part of an immense universe, more of it unexplored and unknown than the minuscule speck that we inhabit and know as planet Earth. We form part of this great mystery, and yet so much of our own inner world, our minds, emotions, and behaviors are just as enigmatic as outer space. We strive for certainty, control, and logical explanations for something as wild, mysterious, and awesome as life itself. Yet we rarely undergo the inner exploration that allows us to experience it for ourselves. This great mystery cannot be caged and placed neatly into a tidy little binary box where good and bad, right and wrong, and black and white are clearly defined. People are capable of the most beautiful, inspiring, incredible feats, as well as the most heinous, despicable, and hurtful acts. This world we live in is made up of all of it, and so are we as human beings. We have co-created all of this from our own ignorance, greed, fear, selfishness, as well as our love, generosity, fortitude, and courage. It is easy to fall into victimhood or to become angry, bitter, and hardened by the tragedies and trials of this world. Life is not easy. No one ever said it was supposed to be. There is both immense beauty and wonder, as well as immeasurable suffering and injustice. I don't know why it is that way. Perhaps some of the great masters who've come before us have left some clues. It is said that light cannot exist without darkness, and vice versa. Regardless of the reasons why, the reality is that it is that way. We can resist and reject it, or we can embrace and learn to live with it. In addition, we can take it a step further and consciously participate in making it the best it can be, and making ourselves the best we can be. What we bring to this life And what we get out of it, in large part, is up to us and depends on our attitude and what we put into it. We have so much more power than we realize. So how are we going to use it? A quote from Gandhi: "We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do." Recently I bathed in the Cantabrian Sea, finally letting go of some of the heaviness I had been carrying, allowing the water to hold me up, just floating gently beneath the wide open blue sky. I remembered the mindfulness teachings about how our true essence is the ocean. The waves come and go, rise and fall. Sometimes big ones seem to threaten to pull us under, and it can be frightening. But from the perspective of our ocean-like essence, we know that we have the capacity to be with the waves. They are a part of us, the temporary, ever-changing element of our being, while our true nature is the immense ocean itself. That bath in the sea was a total attitude adjustment for me. I had been struggling for the past week with some very difficult situations that had occurred in my local community. As a result, I had unconsciously adopted a negative, hopeless, desperate mindset that was pulling me down into a very dark place. My dear friend Marina defined this as humanophobia, that profound sadness, disgust, and rejection of the world and humanity. It felt like a deep disappointment in myself and fellow humans. I felt like my little world had suddenly turned upside down. It was as though the beloved place where I lived, full of wonderful people who I considered my family, had been replaced by a chaotic, hostile, twisted version filled with selfish assholes, violent perpetrators, and angry hypocrites. In our attempt to right the wrongs occurring in our little patch of society, we had instead started to turn against one another, perpetuating the very violence we were protesting against. It felt terrifying and enraging for my inner child, who had experienced some of those things growing up and tried so desperately all her life to control from happening again. But as Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. The level of consciousness of the inner child cannot solve our problems, as it is the source of the very attitude that created some of them. Our wounded inner child often lives trapped in her fear, pain, rage, and separation, in her suffering. Her reptilian brain is the one who runs the show, anxiously trying to keep her safe in what she perceives as a dangerous environment. It isn't her fault, and it's up to us to help her find her way back to safety. In those violent situations that had occurred in my village, it was other human beings just like myself and my friends who were reacting from their pain, from their wounded inner child. Perhaps it is a mirror for the unattended violence we are all carrying within, albeit secretly. If we hope to resolve these situations, we must first attend to our own wounded inner child, and then position ourselves in the adults that we are, responsible adults who embody the attitude of humility, willingness, empathy, courage, and respect. Adults who know how to place and honor healthy boundaries, communicate effectively, and respond instead of react. Adults who make conscious choices and take conscious actions. We all form part of this world, whether we condemn it or defend it, love it or hate it, actively participate in it or hide ourselves away. We are responsible for each grain of sand we bring to and take out of the big playground of life. No one is to blame, and yet we all are. We cannot pretend to bring peace to our world, to end poverty and war, until we first face it within ourselves. It may be important to great thinkers to examine the world, to explain and despise it, but I think it is only important to love the world, not to despise it, not for us to hate each other, but to be able to regard the world and ourselves and all beings with love, admiration, and respect. A quote from the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. As conscious adults, we must be willing to go through whatever comes our way, to face the inevitable pain, to feel it and allow it to break us open. Embedded within the most profound darkness shines an infinity of stars. We are part of both that darkness and that light, made up of the same stuff as the universe itself. Oftentimes it is the pain and our willingness to be with it that reveals this to us. The greater truths do not come to us on the surface, but often in the depths of darkness. Maybe we don't always get to choose what happens around us or to us, but we do get to choose what we do with it. We get to choose the attitude we adopt to face the challenges along the way. We get to choose if we respond from our soul awareness, from our oceanness, or if we become completely identified with the waves, fighting futilely against them and eventually drowning beneath them. We decide if we allow our wounded inner child to run our lives, or if we step up into the adult capable of acknowledging, holding, protecting, and reparenting them. We get to decide if we become the victims of our lives or the creators. There's a Native American parable called The Two Wolves, attributed to the Cherokee tribe. An old man is teaching his grandson about life. "A fight is going on inside me," he said to the boy. "It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He has anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." He continued, "The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." Now, I wouldn't necessarily call this good and evil, as the parable does, nor do I think that some emotions are bad and others good, that some should be pushed away. I think of them more as visitors, as Rumi describes, or as inner children. However, it does aptly illustrate the power of our choice and the attitude we choose to nurture. If we want to break through the crisis in our lives, to rise up no matter how many times we break down, it is crucial to cultivate an empowering attitude, to feed our soul instead of our ego, to take responsibility for our inner world instead of getting stuck in blaming the outer one, to choose when to stand up and set boundaries and when to step back, zoom out, and gain perspective. It has been many years now since I embarked on my own inner journey. I have struggled through long corridors of what at times felt like an infinite underworld. My mind has been jumbled with flashes from the past projected into the future. Deep-seated emotional issues which had developed in early childhood turned into phobias that made going to the store or having a meal with people feel like a dangerous mission. My attitude became bleak, and I started to believe I would never find my way out. The more I believed that, the more I locked myself into a cell. I was feeding the wrong wolves, and they were consuming me. I learned that neither feeding them nor running away from them helped. I'm learning now to train those wolves and therefore access their true power. When it comes to our emotions, I have found that the most effective attitude is to feel it, but don't feed it. Attend to the inner children, go into the body, and feel what is asking for attention. Stop and be with the feelings, but do not feed the stories. The stories of who is right or wrong, of why things are the way they are, of why this is just more proof that you will never be okay. You know the stories, the ones that loop through our racing minds and pull us into a dark pit of suffering. Feeling pain is part of being human. Resisting or getting caught in it exaggerates the pain and feeds suffering. When it comes to our thoughts, we can learn to slow them down, observe, and guide them to a place we consciously choose. As with a wild dog or horse, when you first start, it will pull and run off in one direction or another. But with time, persistence, and dedication, they will follow your lead. Mindfulness teaches that we don't have to believe our thoughts. They're often not true, but rather conditioned programming from the past, looping over and over like a broken record. According to psychologist Shauna Shapiro, we have 12,000 to 50,000 thoughts per day, 95% of which were the same as yesterday. We are reliving our past repeatedly instead of experiencing the only time we ever really have, which is now. We are condemning ourselves to a future based on our past instead of creating one based on our soul's purpose or heart's true desire. At the beginning of 2022, I reached one of those moments in my life. My business was flailing, as well as my friendship with my business partner, as we scrambled to avoid drowning under the weight of COVID restrictions in Spain. Money was scarce. My nervous system had reached well past its limit after the previous year of leaving my partner of 6 years and my home, moving several times, and beginning a new relationship. My mental health was failing as my CPTSD flared up with intensity at all these changes, grief, and uncertainty. There was an especially dark moment when I really just wanted to die. I made an important decision. I was not going to commit suicide, so therefore, the only other option was to continue living. I had to make some significant changes in my life, my way of doing things, and especially my way of thinking. My life depended on it. I signed up for a coaching program designed by an incredible woman named Marissa Ruiz, which has truly changed my life. At the end of the book, I will include a valuable list of the main lessons I learned through the program that have helped me tremendously, and I'm sure will help you. Some of the teachings in this book are based on them. Also, upon her recommendation, I began studying the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I highly recommend his work to understand the power of the mind and the latest studies from neuroscience and neuroplasticity on how to create lasting changes in the brain with the way you think. Some of the valuable lessons include truly understanding the importance of the phrase, where attention goes, energy flows. What we think and what we feel instigate what we do, converting into who we become, which in large part creates the life we are living. Dr. Joe calls this our state of being. If our thoughts, day after day, are mainly focused on our problems, what we lack, what's not right about us, our loved ones, or our lives, then our reality becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy based on negativity. If our thoughts are specifically aimed at gratitude, love, and who we want to become, then everything changes for the better. Our feelings, actions, state of being begin to reflect that new, consciously chosen reality and our lives dramatically improve. In his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Dr. Joe gives numerous examples from cases where patients have healed from illness, chronic anxiety, and a wide variety of debilitating conditions. Personally, I have experienced profound changes in my own well-being and life since I have applied these teachings. I learned about positive thinking over 20 years ago, but to be honest, for many years I hadn't given it much credibility, chalking it up as some of the new age, airy-fairy stuff that sounded good but didn't really work. In fact, I was concerned that it was another form of spiritual bypassing, using spiritual concepts to skip over necessary inner work. When experiencing grief and hardships, nobody wants to be told to just think positive, nor is it appropriate advice for many moments of our lives. We need to feel it, not feed it, but we do need to feel it. During my coaching program and through Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, I have acquired a new understanding of neuroscience and quantum physics that has made a dramatic difference in my life. One of the epiphanies for me was the realization that I had been living most of my life in an attitude of survival instead of truly living. I am finally reprogramming that tendency, learning to flourish and thrive. I hope this book will help you do the same.